You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Teen Wolf After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Teen Wolf After Show.
I see.
Hello, AfterBuzzers. We're here doing another AfterBuzz TV after show for MTV's Teen Wolf Season 3, Episode 24, The Divine Move. I'm your host this evening, Kristen Snyder, and joining me, AfterBuzz TV host June Lee.
Hey, everyone.
Because it's the finale episode, we have 3 special guests for you this evening. We have Corporal Reese, played by Skyler Maxon, co-producer Ian Stokes, and the creative mastermind behind it all. Please welcome Jeff Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you guys all for being here this evening and taking time. I know you just came right from the studio.
And we're going back.
And they're going back. But first of all, I just want to say congratulations on just a fantastic season once again of Teen Wolf. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thanks.
So this episode, the Nogitsune, completely takes over, and the stakes are the highest they've ever been yet. I mean, everyone could die. So I really was like on the edge of my seat, and I was just so nervous. I had no idea who was going to be left behind, who was going to die, and a lot of fans asked if you were trying to hurt them by killing off Allison, because they all took it very deeply. And we here at AfterBuzz kind of like the fact that you're saying, you know, maybe you don't always end up with your first love. You know, a lot of shows and films these days, I feel like they're setting children up for, you know, unrealistic expectations through the way life goes.
Yeah.
So what were you trying to say there?
Well, it's actually, it's something my own mother once said to me when I was going through a breakup in my early 20s, actually. And she said the very same words that Melissa Ponzio's character, Melissa McCall, says to Scott McCall in Anchors, the first episode of 3B. And she says, you're not going to believe this, but you may not believe this, but you will fall in love again. You will. And maybe it'll be just as good or maybe just as painful, but you will fall in love again. And I thought that was kind of amazing, and it sort of guided me through getting over a breakup. And it's something I think teenagers should know, and it's real life. And as much as this TV show is not real life, we still need to give a modicum of truth, you know? It connects you to the characters.
I mean, you have a lot of themes going on this show, sort of acceptance of who you are and owning yourself, and the importance of friendship.
Yes.
And the fact that you can't always do things alone. I mean, what other lessons or themes are you trying to get across to the audience? Because I know they're really learning. You're sort of raising the audience that watches this show, and adults. We're all learning every day.
It's funny. It gives you a sense of responsibility. But I think we deal in a lot of themes of alternative families almost. I mean, Scott's pack is kind of his family. Styles is his brother, not by blood, but he certainly is. Just their bond is just as strong. But we talk a lot about themes of growing up, of adolescence, of children becoming adults. And this season, I think we wanted to push a lot of people in that area.
Absolutely. Well, I really enjoy every week just listening to your wisdom, and June and I often go on to tangents way after the show is over. But I want to talk to you, Skyler. and what was it like coming on? We loved that throwback episode.
Thank you.
What was
It's
it
all
like
these guys.
working with the Ian and Jeff on the set?
You know, I had the pleasure of meeting these guys a little while ago, and when I got to work with them back in November, it was just the most friendly group of people I've ever worked with. It was very educational. It was actually the longest I've ever been on set. of a show. Biggest guest star that I've had, and I learned a lot. Arden was great.
We had auditioned him previously. I think Christian Taylor mentioned it. And when this role came along, I'd been speaking to Skyler and said, "We're going to have you back in for something. I swear to God, we will." And I don't like to make empty promises. I hope that I have a rule. If any of my friends want to audition on the show, I will absolutely bring them in. Sometimes they're not great, but sometimes they really surprise you. And I hadn't known. I'd met you once or twice before your audition.
Yeah.
But we were really impressed by him, and I knew there was something about him that people were really going to like. And
we were really impressed.
yeah.
Yeah. It was a huge fan.
We're like,
We all
we
were.
need to get him in here.
Thank you for having me.
I know,
It
really.
was a really fun episode to do too. We
Yeah.
were doing World War II flashback. We were.
Ian was more on set than I was.
The set was we shot it in San Pedro,
Which is
and I
great.
want to say it was like 10 degrees there the entire time
Oh
we
my
shot.
God.
It was
Really?
cold. It got
Freezing.
really cold.
Wow.
But it was
Wow.
we're used to walking onto our stages, and we do a lot of the show on our stages now. So you're in the high school, you're in the police station, and then this week now all of a sudden we're in a World War II internment camp, and everyone's in period clothes, and it was really kind of a fun place to be.
Oh yeah.
It came across so well on screen.
Except
So
for the fact that it was a
beautiful.
horrible time in American history, which I guess we.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, episode after episode, it's just very cinematic, and I know, your entire crew works so hard to make that happen, but it really does resemble a film each week.
Well, Tim Andrew, the director, and Dave Daniel, the cinematographer, Rich, our lighting, they're phenomenal guys.
They did a great job.
Well, it's weird too because it was near the end of the season, and everyone's zonked, tired.
Yeah.
And then when we say we're doing this huge World War II episode, everyone's instantly invigorated.
It really was
And
exciting.
yeah, we threw together. I mean, we sort of hinted that we were going to do this flashback episode in the beginning of the season to a lot of our crew, but then when it became a reality, it's like Barbara, our costume designer, has to throw together a period wardrobe in about a week. Finding these locations, it all came together perfectly, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it really came across on screen well, too. And, we love those backstories because it develops the characters, and that's what we're all about here. We love your characters, and you're just like the godfather puppeteering all of the characters, and we are just always worried that you're going to kill off our favorite characters because you do. But that's
is
what
great
keeps the show
praise.
so good.
We should come here every week.
So we have Octogram on Twitter asking, why did the Nogitsune choose Styles? Was it because he's the weakest out of the three that did the ice bath sacrifices?
I wouldn't call Styles the weakest, but Styles himself is a bit of a trickster spirit. So it may have been that the Nogitsune felt a kindred spirit in Styles. And one of the reasons, too, is that Dylan O'Brien's a great actor, and we really wanted to try something different with him. I mean, some characters, some actors get stuck in a character and they play the same thing year to year, every season, and you want to let them stretch and grow. And Christian Taylor and I on season 2, I think, when we started to really see Dylan O'Brien stretch, really flex his acting muscles, Christian and I said to each other, we got to make him a villain one year. He would knock it out of the park. And I think he did it beautifully. So.
Oh, no, he really did. And I want to remind everyone at home that you can call in and ask these guys a question at 424-256-1729. And we have June also reading your live tweets. So you can tweet her. June, what's your Twitter handle?
Oh, Miss MS_Junely, JUNELEE.
Okay, guys, so tweet her your questions, and she'll be reading those along, too. And right now we actually have a caller on the line. Caller, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, my name's Kathy. I'm from Florida.
Wow, hi.
Hey, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. Did you have a question for these guys?
Yeah, my question for Jeff is... I'm sorry, I'm like so nervous.
You're not alone.
I was wondering if there's any hope for Styles and Lydia now that Styles has a new love interest. Anything about Styles and Lydia would be like amazing to hear right now. Just a little bit of hope, I guess.
Oh, I understand completely. Well, we're still breaking season 4. We're writing it, and we're seeing where things fall. Ian, what would you say? I mean, Styles and Lydia to me
When
are.
you say we're still breaking season 4, I'm like, we actually have to go back to the studio
Yeah, to
after
finish
this
an
and keep
outline.
writing. Yeah.
So give them some ideas, Kathy.
Yeah, what do you think? You have any good ideas? I will
Just
say.
give me some studio.
Yeah. Stydia. They are amazing together, though. And one of the things we really tried to push in 3A and 3B was a sort of partnership between them. It took a turn for the worse, of course, in 3B when he was possessed by the Nogitsune. But I think they have amazing chemistry together. Whether that turns into a full-blown romance, that's still up in the air. It's something that we debate in the writers' room. Are we ever going to get them together? I think I can't give you solid confirmation, but I think you can hold out hope.
You're gonna be seeing a lot. Lydia has a great storyline next year too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really love the show, and you guys are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for calling, Kathy.
Well, while we're on the subject of Stydia, Ali at Dare Fans actually was wondering if that moment with Lydia and Malia was setting up a love triangle potentially between the three of them.
Ooh.
I don't think Lydia and Malia should get together, but
No, love triangle. Love triangle.
Why not? That's what I want to say.
Well, I always say I'm not a huge fan of love triangles. I think we've seen a lot of them on TV, and it also it seems to me like it's a trope that can be. I don't know. It pushes the characters into roles of just being the girlfriend or just being the boyfriend, of being and of being jealous too. One of the things I really didn't want to see actually this season was I never wanted to see Allison and Scott being jealous of their new loves.
Right.
That moment where they look at each other across the room in 316 at the party at the rave was very important to me. That they give a look to each other of I'm okay with this. Are you okay with this?
Right.
And to be happy for each other. It may sting a little. A friend and I call it tiny daggers because they feel like tiny little daggers going through your heart. But still, you want them to be happy for each other. So it'll be interesting to see where things fall with those three, with that trio. But if it's good conflict, we'll go for it. I mean, Ian, what do you
about
think?
the conflict, yes.
Ian would love to see Malia and Lydia get together, wouldn't you?
I'm the straight guy in the writers' room now.
I would.
No, I mean, I think Holland has fantastic chemistry with just about everybody. To be honest, like the scenes with her and Posey go into Styles' brain in what was that 10?
22.
22.
Christian's
episode.
director.
Right. I mean, we hadn't seen even Lydia and Scott working together in a while, and I remember seeing that and being like, "Wow, they're great together."
They really are.
Yeah, and then in even with her and Evil Dylan in Oak Creek in the next episode, like they were just so good together. So it's we're always looking for ways to mix and match. We're actually working on a Malia Lydia storyline right now, and we're always looking for ways to pair these kids up. Not like I was joking earlier.
As a little tease for season 4. We now have 3 strong female characters on the show who we've all fallen in love with in the writers' room: Kira, Lydia, and Malia. And it's seeing these girls form strong bonds together, and seeing them in action together. We're really excited about it. They have great chemistry.
Together.
That sounds really exciting.
And they're so different.
Yeah.
That's such another gem about this show, and that we really admire and appreciate is the diversity in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Christian Taylor was talking to us about how, there's always deleted scenes. Could you talk about any deleted scenes from the finale episode that maybe you really wanted to put in, but you just didn't have the time to squeeze in there?
There are no deleted scenes from the finale, actually.
Okay.
There's actually, there were a few more deleted scenes this season, but there was only a couple in 3A. Our episodes actually... I wish our episodes were longer.
We do too.
Because we're actually only a little over 40 minutes, and a lot of network shows are around 42. And some days, if we could just have that extra minute, it would be wonderful. Or if we could have 50 minutes like Mad Men does. There are just some areas of the show where we'd love to let a scene breathe a little more. Or
lets us write shorter scripts, though.
It does, yes.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah. But the thing that happens is when you have to cut for time, what are the first things that go? They're the character moments that don't necessarily progress the narrative along. And I miss those. And I'm always sitting there saying, God, can't we squeeze a little more out of them? So
the other thing is with Russell Mulcahy, he's a genius. And then we also have Tim, Andrew, and Christian directed, and so did Jen Lynch this season. And the show is so visually striking that you know, we don't have a lot of scenes where it's two people sitting around in a room talking. And so those scenes we write in the script, they end up taking a lot longer because they're shot cinematically and not like a television show. So a 40-page script can sometimes come in like a 55-minute cut.
Yeah. Like an episode of The West Wing would be 60 pages long. Our episodes, we're trying to keep it 38 pages because there's suspense, there's action, and there are moments where in the editing room where I have to cut a shot and Russell comes in screaming, "Oh, you can't lose that shot." That shot. And I'm like, "Well, you said the other shot was the best shot." He's like, "That's a really good shot too."
We love Russell here, but yeah, we don't want to ever lose scenes. We were hoping to get a little what was deleted, but I'm glad that you guys got everything in because we really appreciate this episode.
There are a couple in the season, but they've been deleted for good reason, I think.
Okay. Well, I guess the people who were on fell in love with them.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and get into the episode. So everyone's sort of mourning Allison's death, as are we and all the fans. And we really felt bad for Argent, but it seems like he's able to compartmentalize his feelings as he tells Isaac. And it kind of seemed like he would be, you know, maybe parenting Isaac in the future. But then we got tweeted, Stephanie on Twitter said that Isaac's not going to be returning because he wants to go out for pilots. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It was, I'll say it was a little shocking.
Yeah.
We love Daniel Sharman so much, and we wanted him to stay. And I can actually say, should I say this? The storyline that we had planned.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we thought he might be coming back. So what's there is now.
Tease it.
Is it for sure he's definitely not coming back?
We have left the door open for him to come back. Yeah. He asked that he not be killed off so that he could have the opportunity to come back someday. He loved the role, and he just wanted to keep an option to come back. And I said, okay, well, we'll do our best, and he lived. Yeah,
because people were wondering what his relationship with Scott is going to be like. Emma Frost was wondering that on Twitter.
The relationship we had planned for him, if he had continued with the show, was one of the things that we were going to have Allison say to Argent in that scene with the silver bullet scene, where she says, "I'm proud of us, I'm proud of you," was, if anything happens to me, do not let Isaac be alone. You know, this kid has been damaged, he's been abused all of his life, and part of his journey, I believed, was to find a safe place.
Right.
And his safe place was with Scott and in his pack. And we were going to develop a sort of father-son relationship between the two of them in the 4th season. But I have to respect Daniel Sharman's wishes and his creative desires to do something different. It's our show's a little different because we don't lock people into long-term contracts like most TV shows do. Most TV shows on any other network, they're 7 years in, and it's like you're not going anywhere after 7 years. But we don't do that. We can't quite afford to pay actors the same rates as say NBC or ABC. And one of the things we do is we allow them the ability to go off and do pilots or guest stars or movies. And one of the reasons actors come to cable TV is so that they can do 12 episodes and go off and do another project. So.
And sometimes it works against us, and they fall into comas.
Yes.
Or get poisoned.
The number of people we have to coma because they're doing a pilot. So it can be a little difficult, and it's one of the things, one of the conflicts or the problems you face doing a cable show. You're gonna get a lot of creative freedom, but you can't keep your actors as long as network shows. On a network show, if it was, say, NBC or ABC or CBS, the actor would say, "Hey, I know you have me for 6 seasons, but I think 2 is good enough for me. Can I be let out of my contract?" And they'd be like, "Absolutely not. Get back to work." But I truly believe that if the actor wants to move on, you have to let them.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't know if you'll get the most invested performance.
Definitely. No, that makes sense.
Says a lot about this guy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, that's the environment that you create.
But and you also get actors like Tyler Posey and Dylan O'Brien who come to work every day they absolutely love it. Tyler would be happy
It's
to
obvious,
do.
yeah.
Tyler would be happy to do 10 seasons of the show. I'm like,
Middle-aged wolf.
exactly.
So getting back to the episode, Allison is the one who figures out the key to the puzzle, and that it's the silver that will kill the Oni. So silver also kills werewolves. What's the connection
on
there?
Teen Wolf.
No, not on Teen Wolf.
No.
It only kills Oni.
Remember that in the first season they talk about Argent, that the legend had been changed a little bit. It was not silver, the metal, that kills werewolves. It's Argent, the silver, the family. Argent being the French word for silver or money. So in our show, no werewolf has ever been killed by silver. It's only wolfsbane.
But if you cut their head off with like a silver sword, it would still work.
So can you talk at all about like Kira and Scott's relationship going forward now that Allison's not there? Is she gonna fill in for Allison? Is he gonna steer away from relationships?
No one could fill in for Crystal. No, it's true. I mean, Crystal leaves a very big absence, and she leaves a huge gaping hole in the show. I never thought we would do that with her character. I thought she'd always be there. I thought to myself, well, if Crystal leaves the show, obviously the show's over because that's the romance. Or they would get back together, or somehow they would be okay with each other's new romantic partners, and it would end that way. But I never thought, ever since seeing the animal clinic scene in the pilot, seeing those two together, I thought they were amazing together, and it surprised me that that it
When
turned
did you
out this way.
find out that she was going to be leaving? When did she talk to you about it?
She came to me a couple weeks into the beginning of shooting 3B, but we had felt a little bit pulling away. You know how they say that couples break up way before
the spark was gone.
Way before. I would say the spark was gone, but you could see her wanting to do other things. You could feel it in her, and I think I have the utmost. I'm really happy. I have the utmost respect for her, and I'm really happy that she came to me and said that, because that way we were prepared. We could give her a good end, and we can finalize it. And I love the fact that she's the one who figures it out in the end. She's the hero.
Absolutely. No, we enjoyed that part too, and it's definitely deserved. We're all going to miss her.
Yeah.
But moving on to...
You were talking about Kira and Scott.
Yeah, how's their relationship going to progress now? I mean, it's very cute and funny, and we kind of see her as like a parallel to Scott, because in the beginning, he didn't really understand his powers, and he was just coming into his own. And like we saw her this season, she was sort of uncomfortable and slowly coming into her powers and realizing what she should do and could do. So we saw a lot of parallels between them, and we were actually hoping they would get together.
That was intended, definitely. Okay. But when Arden came in, I think we saw that she was really funny, and we wanted to capitalize on that. I mean, Ian and I have been working a lot on the scripts together this season, and we're having a lot of fun playing with that romance. What do you want to tease about it?
Well, I mean, Arden's really funny, and one of the things that she brought to the character that we liked is this idea that she likes physical comedy. She kind of wanted to be a klutz, and so we had this notion that the sword was going to give her balance.
Yes.
As a kitsune, and so she loved being klutzy in the beginning. She loved all the stuff with her father embarrassing her, and so we decided to keep that up. And it gets.
Should we talk about what we're shooting?
Yes.
What?
We should talk about that.
Yes.
I'm gonna give one season 4 tease.
Okay, good.
She will be joining the lacrosse team.
Oh, with all the guys?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
AfterBuzz exclusive, guys. Steven,
That's all the season 4 you get.
Okay.
Well, we were short on lacrosse players now that Daniel left.
Yeah.
And Jackson's
I heard you guys
gone.
casted 2 other guys too that are going to be lacrosse players. I'm looking forward to them as well.
Mason Dye and Liam Sprayberry.
Okay, great. Well, I look forward to them. I'm sure they're as attractive as the rest of the cast. Steven,
We're
do we
incredibly
still have a
shallow
caller?
about that.
You know what? We love it. It makes good TV. It makes me want to watch more. Thank you. The casting's amazing. We have another caller on the line. Caller, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hello, guys. My name is Johan.
Hi, Johan.
Guys.
Hi,
you doing,
Johan.
Hey.
Do you have a
How are
question
you?
for these guys? We're great.
How are you?
We're good.
Yeah, I got a question for Jeff. Throughout the seasons, what's been the hardest scene that you've had to film throughout the entire series?
That's a
good
very
question.
difficult question. Do you mean hardest as in we're running out of time, we're never going to get this shot, it's so complicated? This is
Either
technically...
or. Either answer's good enough for me.
There
Either
are some scenes where this is actually pretty easy because we did it over 2 days of shooting, and I actually made them reshoot a lot of stuff. It was the pool scene with the Kanema. The suit, this is in season 2, the Kanema suit was not fitting correctly. It kept sort of getting wet and sliding off the actor, and there were all these wrinkles in the suit, and it just looked like a ridiculous man in a suit running around a pool. and I said, okay, we're gonna have to do a lot of these shots over. Part of the reason was because it was unbelievably humid inside there, and what we did was we went through every shot. And I said to them, you have to get what I call the alligator shots. You know, the Discovery Channel documentaries where you see alligators come out of the water, and all you see is their leg or their arm going like this, you know?
Yes.
So those were the shots that were going to sell the costume the best. Shooting that costume was really, really difficult. So that was technically one of the hardest things we've done, and I said we will never do a suit again after that.
I just joined the show last season, season 3, and people still talk about the pool shoot.
Yeah, and it was incredibly difficult on Hecklin and Dylan O'Brien, but they made it through it, and it was a really good episode.
Well, thank you for calling, Johan. And
Thank
Steven,
you, Johan.
do we have another caller on the line?
Yep.
Okay, caller, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
I am calling to talk to Jeff Davis.
This is Aaron.
Oh, this is Aaron. Hi, Aaron.
I was like,
Jeff,
that is a
nobody
very
moves.
creepy voice.
This is a Nogitsune.
He's inside the house.
Even my most evil friends don't like me anymore since I killed Aiden. Jeff, what have you done to my life?
Oh, God.
Are you calling from the box, the Triskelade box?
I can still tell he doesn't have the teeth.
How are you guys?
We're good. How are
man.
you?
I'm fantastic, man. Listen, when I saw him last week, they asked if I'd call him while you're on the show, and I said absolutely.
I told him there was going to be a surprise, and he was like, "Oh
That's
no, I
awesome.
don't like surprises."
Sure, that's a rhythm.
I wish you were here so you could do the Nogitsune walk for us.
Yeah, we got to see
He
that.
taught me how to do it.
Yeah,
I
we're all gonna do it. We're all gonna do it at the
We'll all
end.
do it at the end.
Oh my gosh, I gotta tell you, this cracked me up. Someone called me this afternoon and said, trending right now is the Nogitsune dance. Someone has decided there needs to be like a version of the Nogitsune that plays at the clubs. So that was very awesome.
Absolutely. You guys need to
Awesome.
capitalize on that right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I want
So
to
listen.
pay Aaron some respect here because we had only planned for that character to be in 2 episodes.
I know, you told us.
He came in and we were like, this is amazing. He's awesome.
Well, some of it was Jeff was like talking about this thing that Styles is going to see in the basement, and we sort of talked about it being the burnt soldier,
Right.
And then Jeff's like, no, and he goes on the whiteboard and he draws this horrifying mummy monster with like a fluke worm mouth and the long teeth, and then we like call on the people, like take pictures of this thing, send it to the production designers, like that's what it's got to look like.
Yes.
And it ended up looking so awesome. We're like, let's keep doing this.
Well, he also portrayed it so brilliantly, and the way he spoke to the teeth,
Oh,
we
listen.
watched it and was like, oh, God, this is awesome. And then we liked him so much, we hired him as Brunsky in two more episodes. So, yeah, I
Listen, I have all the respect in the world for you, Jeff, and the writing staff. I mean,
Aaron.
truly, I said when I was on there, and you've heard me say this before, like, it's the kind of material that, for an actor like me who likes doing inventive stuff, when I saw those pages, I just went through the roof, and I had such a good time. And you've made a giant fan of the show out of me. Like, I can't wait to see what happens next. So, thank you and congratulations.
We're
for
working
such
on the
huge
return of Brunsky.
No more notes today.
Aaron, I want to say thanks because
I love it. I'm good with the taser. I'm eager to get back in that high school and abuse these kids a little bit. So anyway, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens next. And thanks a million, man.
Oh, thank you, Aaron.
And Skyler wants to say thank you.
Aaron, I had some people on Twitter ask me if that was me in the Nogitsune outfit afterwards. And I so badly wanted to take credit for that, but I couldn't. I couldn't. But no, it was great watching him do that the first night when we were out there in that field. And
you haven't learned Hollywood rules at all yet.
I have not.
The response is absolutely that was me.
I mean, there were 3 of you playing this one character.
I know. Truly, but it was funny because when I got on and started looking at my account, I was like, wow, this is the first time that it's a good sign that everybody's tweeting how much they hate me. It was just hate mail after hate mail. And I was like, I guess this is good, but we'll see what happens next.
It's usually tweeting about how much they hate me.
Well, some of the Brunsky thing came up is we loved Aaron, what he was doing with the Nogitsune so much, but we're like, well, no one's going to recognize this guy on the street. He's got this amazing role. So we really wanted to give him something where we could see Aaron.
Right.
Yes.
And he did great in those dual roles.
No, that was awesome of you. It was fun to have. It was fun to have some FaceTime, and it was, you know. And I told the girls like when that came across, I was like, wait a second, are they working on a scheme here? And I was like, no, it's just I get to play the demon jerk and the human jerk.
But you're so nice in real life, Aaron.
Said to me, I don't know which one of these guys I like less. Like, what, you're more of a jerk as a human being than you are as a demon.
Aaron, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you, Aaron.
That's it.
Good to
have a great hour, guys. Can't wait to see what happens next.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Aaron. So let's go ahead and jump back to the episode. So we're in the hospital. I loved that massacre montage in the hospital. I'm sorry, that was my favorite moment.
I had a little argument about that in the editing room.
You didn't like it?
Well, Russell he's a horror master. They called him Buckets of Blood back on Mulcahy back when he was on Tales from the Crypt. And I saw one of the visual effects shots marked sword impales orderly. And I said, Russell, are we really going to do this? We impale him? He's like, yeah. It's gonna be great. And I was like, well, that's a little violent. I mean, he's killing everyone. And if you notice, he kills one person twice.
Yes, I did notice the woman, the nurse, I think it was.
No, it's the guy in red. There's a bit of continuity errors. The guy in red gets thrown at the top of the hall, and then at the end of the hall he's the one who gets impaled. I'm like, that guy, he should have just stayed down.
Stay down. Lessons on Teen Wolf.
But it did work really well. It was slightly pornographic in violence.
I think I was on second unit when they were shooting it, and I remember because the hospital corridor is right next to the writer's office.
Yeah.
And so like I came in the morning and just opened the door to go walk to the hospital corridor, and it's just soaked in blood. Like it's all over the walls. It's sprayed all over the floor. It was like, what the hell happened here?
Well, we decided to become a horror show. I mean, it was sort of we had always, I felt like, been a scary show as well as funny and romantic and suspenseful, but we've sort of really embraced the horror as well, and it's fun.
I love it.
It's
It totally
cathartic.
works. It totally works to your advantage, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the song was Blue Moon Rising by Morning Ritual. Bad Moon Rising. That it was just, it made the scene, the chemistry, everything really click. I know Laura Webb does all the music.
She's a genius.
And
I love the final song, and I don't know if many people
we're
know
going to play it at the
Yeah.
end. Is it
There's another song.
My Own by Whitetaker? No, this is the Bad Moon Rising.
One interesting thing to note, though, is in 323, the song where Scott is holding Allison is by James Vincent Morrow, and the song in the Animal Clinic scene in the pilot, where they first have their first romantic scene, is by James Vincent Morrow as well.
Oh,
so
Teen Wolf facts.
I was like, that's brilliant. She's so good at her job. I love giving her all the praise in the world.
My entire downloaded list on my phone right now is all the music that she sends me and from Teen Wolf. I literally will Shazam the song while I'm watching the episode, then I will go to iTunes and download it. So I love the music, and then my friends are all like, wow, you have really good taste in music, and I'm like, yep.
That's awesome.
So getting back to the episode at the hospital, so Scott's dad wants to just skip town, and he'll send an email later.
Yeah.
And obviously, Melissa says that's not going to fly. A teenage boy doesn't care about apologies. He just wants you to try harder. And I think that speaks volumes for all of us. It's one thing if you say you're sorry to someone, but it's that you need to try harder in the relationship, whatever that is. If you want to be there, make it known and make sure that person feels special and that you want to be part of their life.
Yeah, and a big part of our show is families and redemptive arcs, and I come from a divorced family, and one of the things that I'm most proud of is we have Christmas together, and everyone's there. My stepfather is there, and my biological father is there, my mom's there, and I love being able to see them talk as adults, you know? So these relationships, they can be repaired. You just have to try a little. And I think that mystery maybe got made out to be bigger than we intended, because it was supposed to be a human thing, really.
Right.
We didn't want it to come off as something that they had that like Melissa had an affair or something, or that somebody was secretly a werewolf or something. We just wanted it to be a very human moment of I need to talk to my son, and I need to make up for lost time. So
Matt's a great actor too. I mean,
yeah, Matt's phenomenal.
Yeah, and
he's such a great guy too. We are the
one of the
luckiest.
nicest guys.
We are unbelievably lucky because our cast is so good and so nice.
Nice people.
Well, all of the cast say they come in and they say they're incredibly lucky because everybody on the crew and the writers and the producers are so nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's very obviously that you guys are a family.
Lyndon and I talk about it a lot. Lyndon Ashby and I. And he says it's like lightning in a bottle. And he says to the younger actors, he says, you should cherish this while you have it now because it's very rare. And I try to remind myself of that as well, that it's rare to be able to have this kind of experience where, I mean, in the writer's room, we do a lot of laughing. So it's fun to be able to do that. And I was telling, we were at our season 324 finale where we rent out a big theater and we have sort of a party for the cast and crew. And I gave a little speech to basically congratulate everyone on a season well done. And I said, thank you, because I don't have the Sunday night blues like most people in the world have. They're terrified of going to work Monday because they know it's going to be another hellish week. I look forward to it, and that makes me feel very lucky.
Unless that call time's like 6:30 a.m.
Then I don't come in.
a little bit like.
I call Ian up and I say, "You're going to be there, right?" Because I can't make it out.
I'm like, oh, I lost my phone.
Well, I was watching Wolf Watch, and I know that you said on there that your divine move was kind of taking that, meeting
Taking
with
a meeting with MTV, yeah.
For this thing called Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's funny because I never thought this would be one of my happiest working experiences, working on a show that was based on a 1980s Michael J. Fox movie. But it really is. We get to do what we want. We have tremendous creative freedom that's given to us by the network. We have an incredible cast and crew. So I feel very lucky. Somewhere in the back of my head, I guess I must have seen something in Teen Wolf as a remake, which I think part of it was that it was a chance to do sort of a comic book story, a heroic story, monsters as heroes instead of just bloodthirsty monsters. And I've been very happy for it.
Well, you make us all very happy week after week, so thank you. I mean, you're just a creative mastermind genius every week where, like, we get fans saying, okay, can you ask him, like, how far behind he planned this? Because it seems perfect.
How did he do it?
I mean,
Don't say a word, Ian. Ian's laughing because...
how far behind we are on scripts. I'm like, we're working on...
We're always behind on scripts.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't appear that way.
Oh, well, that's good.
It seems that you guys plan these things out far in
advance. We did
advance.
have a lot of things planned out for this Nogitsune arc, especially, we have the first 2 to 3 weeks are generally us brainstorming and sort of mapping out where we think certain beats are going to go. And Echo House, putting Styles in an insane asylum, we said that'll be about the end of the second act, so episode, I think, 9 or 10, whenever we did it. And then we sort of broke the whole backstory of... the Nogitsune and the internment camp. And so we had these benchmarks, and then we were just kind of...
Finding our way to them.
Finding our way to them.
If you have those guideposts, it's a lot easier. And we do that with the fourth season as well. We feel like we have a really strong central mystery here. But a lot of it can be finding your way. There's something I like to call a subconscious writer that lays in clues for you, and hopefully you pick up on them later.
I like that.
And, yeah, and...
happens a lot.
I always say my subconscious is much smarter than my conscious. It's because it's my conscious that adds all the emotion and all the fear, and my subconscious can just drive perfectly.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So getting back to the episode, we have Scott's parents. It seems that they fixed the relationship in the elevator, and that, you know, we're not sure her fate at the moment. So, you know, McCall, his dad, just says, you know, I'm definitely going to fix things with Scott. He promises Melissa in that moment. And it seems like he's back to fix things with not only Melissa, but also Scott. So I guess going forward, you know, in season 4, we can expect that father-son relationship to grow.
Yeah, he's there to repair relationships. That's great. We're going to have some... We're adding a lot of comedy back into the beginning of the season, to this season. We're having a lot of fun with it, and it's a way to sort of heal the wounds as well.
Right.
There's nothing like laughter.
We'll be glad to see Styles back for sure.
Yeah.
In a happier place.
And what we're doing actually in the 4th season is actually we're getting Styles and Scott back together as that the pair that the show had revolved around in the beginning.
Right.
And they're just so good together.
I want to ask, so, you know, the Nogitsune was much more confident than Styles' character was. Are there going to be any powers or any, you know, character traits that Styles kind of inherits from being the Nogitsune?
Well, we talked about that in the writer's room. I'll tease that there are psychological repercussions.
Right. I feel like there would be from any sort of dramatic experience like that. But I really liked moving forward with the sheriff's station and Selinsky, that moment where he's like, you need a bigger gun.
Yeah, that was so
moments.
good.
Do you know where that comes from?
No.
One of my favorite movies. You put it in the facts, didn't you?
Jaws, right?
Yeah. Jaws.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. No,
But we love giving Lyndon badass lines like that too.
he's so badass, and I
he's
love
great.
those moments. I had to bring that up. So we see Derek leading the twins, and we had someone ask, I think it was Octagon 8, he wants to know why Derek was one step away from being the king on the chessboard, and what that means on and off the chessboard.
What does that mean, Jeff?
We're not going to answer that.
Not going to answer that. Is that something moving forward will maybe get answered?
Possibly.
Okay. So the twins were trying to run away, and Derek tells them, you know, you don't fight for your leader, you fight for their cause. And he kind of gets them to stand up and fight for Scott. And they find out that it's, you know, the Triskelade box that they need. From Deaton actually tells them that. So... we have the twins and Derek going to kind of fight the Nogitsune and the Oni. And at the clinic, will we ever get the story behind why the Nematon was cut down? Because we find out that the Triskelade box was made from the wood from the Nematon. And, you know, they said that the Nematon was used to hold things of this kind of power. And that's why, you know, Deaton admits to creating the Triskelade box. So are we going to get that backstory about why the tree was cut down, perhaps?
Possibly. We always talk about Deaton's backstory, and we'd love to do a flashback of his story. I'm not sure whether we're going to do the kind of flashback episode we've done the last 2 seasons for the 4th season, but there's plenty of history to mine there, I think. So that's something we've toyed around with in the.
Just reminded me, I always liked, because we knew what the story of the Nematon was holding the Nogitsune, and the when is a door not a door thing from the first episode was a jar, because the Nematon, the demon, the fly was buried in a jar at the bottom of the Nematon, and I totally forgot about that.
Well, the thing you don't see is that. And sometimes it just simply has to do with budget, is that we showed the flashback where the Earth shifts, and the shot we wanted to get was the jar cracking, you know? But that would have required a lot of CGI, and we were already up against our budget.
It was impressive to see the CGI Nematon that was full in...
right.
Yeah.
We loved that.
In, was it 10, the flashback episode?
Yeah, and that's a real tree.
Wow.
Yeah, in South Carolina.
It was designed off one, but it was still...
Yeah. No, I think it's actually a
really
photograph
got that tree?
where they altered it slightly.
Unless someone has cut it down.
The tree's in the public domain.
Wow.
Well, I mean, like when Danny says, dude, as Beacon Hills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you guys going to explore that world of Beacon Hills a little bit more in season 4?
We are always exploring that world. Actually, I feel like. Beacon
Did you,
Hills.
when you called
Don't
it
look too
Beacon
deeply.
Hills, did you know you were kind of going to have it as like a beacon for all these monsters coming in?
There was the idea that I'd written a pitch a while back that incorporated some of these ideas. You always steal from yourself. When one pitch falls away, you're always stealing ideas, and that was sort of that. That was about a hospital that was a kind of beacon, and monsters were drawn to it, and. So I borrowed some of those ideas, and I think it was in the back of my mind, but certain things you find along the way, which I like quite a bit as well in terms of writing. Stephen King apparently never works on an outline anymore. He just starts writing and sees where the characters and the story takes him. That can lead you to a huge roadblock sometimes, but...
if I was sitting in my house writing a novel, I might do it that way.
Exactly. But we've got pages to...
A beast that needs to be fed nonstop.
Yeah. So we always kind of know where we're headed.
Right.
Yeah, but I sometimes am surprised to see where things fall.
Well, let's talk about the pack at the school, and it's just like that set was amazing. What was your inspiration for that snow set, and what were some complications?
I think I wasn't inspired to do it. It was it was Russell, I think.
Yeah.
Russell thought of it. Well, what about snow? And Christian came to me and said, Russell really wants to do snow. I think it would be amazing. And I said, it's going to be costly.
But
and
it come up, I think, the first time we talked about the Oni attack, too, that it'd be snowing, and that the first time we did the garden.
Oh, that's right.
And it was, again, we were just like, we don't know, like, how do we do that? Like, it's going to be a pain. And then it kind of came back, and we did a bunch of tests on it. It's all, was it potato starch, the snow?
Yeah, I think it was potato starch.
Yeah.
But it was also, we shot the majority of that footage in one 17-hour day. It was our last day of shooting.
The last day of the season.
And it was sort of amazing because everybody was exhausted. It was the longest day of shooting. It's one of those days where you just have to keep shooting to get everything in the can,
Right.
Or as much as you can, and then do a pickup day later, reshoots later. And I just remember everyone was. It was like the crew was firing on all cylinders. The actors were in a great mood.
Well, that feeling when Scott and Styles and the pack open up the door and walk into the school, it was like when everyone came to set that day, they all had that look on their face, like, holy, we built something that looks just magical and amazing.
Yeah, and it's hard to do this stuff on our budget.
Yeah, you guys have such a low budget, I hear.
Yeah, well...
Okay, I want to ask a question.
Network's going to be the next person on the phone.
If there were no budget restrictions, who would be like a guest star you would want to bring on?
Oh, good God.
You can bring on anyone. No budget. We're lifting the budget restrictions.
So you already have such an
Who would you
amazing
bring?
cast.
Yeah, I love our cast.
Yeah.
I think if there were no budget restrictions, I'd pay our crew more.
Oh, yeah.
I'd go on location more. I wouldn't pay a single guest star.
Screw the guest
You
stars.
don't have like
guest
a
stars?
favorite actor though that you'd want to bring in.
Bring Reese back.
Bryan
That's
Cranston.
what we'll do.
Bryan Cranston. I would go with that
I'm
one.
enamored of Bryan Cranston.
That's a great
I
one.
think he's one of the finest actors out there.
Amazing.
And if we could, I would make Sigourney Weaver Mrs. Argent.
Aliens. Yes, I totally agree with
I would
those.
make Ron Swanson the new principal.
That's fine too. So let's go ahead
And I would resurrect Skyler Maxon.
Yes. I can't tell you how many episodes later I was like, he's gonna come back, and all the fans were getting mad at me. They're like, he's so dead. I'm like, no, he's coming back.
Well,
Kay came back. Oh, sorry. Is that what you were going to say?
Well, can't he play the great grandson?
You never know.
Oh.
No one ever really dies on Teen Wolf.
No.
Yes. I
That's
heard
what Chris
a
is always
slogan.
saying. That's our a slogan.
Well,
After
that's going to
the
be the end of
slogan.
the episode. We haven't talked about that yet.
What's that?
We haven't even talked about the end of the
I know.
episode.
We're getting there. Let's go ahead and move
Time for
forward.
resurrections.
So we get to the pack at the school, and Styles figures out his divine move is that this is all. He sees the business book, he sees the desk,
Yeah.
and he realizes that this is all an illusion. And he kind of, I'm not sure everyone should have trusted him in that moment, but they do, and they all sort of walk into the Oni's blades, uncertain of life or death, which was very scary to all of us watching. But it was nice to see that after all this, a season of not being able to trust him, that in the end they actually stood behind him.
Yeah.
And they walked to their death.
Well, it's a kind of the theory of non-resistance, of nonviolent resistance. So he says,
like
stop
that.
fighting. And I thought it would be interesting, personally, to see on screen the moment where they stop fighting, because we so many of our scenes and they're big, huge battles, and I said, what if they stop fighting in this moment, and that's what saves them? So it's an interesting thing to be able to do. I'm a huge fan of the animated show Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the way that show did these philosophies of it was a full-on action show, right? But it had this great message behind it of peaceful resistance, and it's interesting to be able to lay in those types of themes and ideas into a show that is A, horrifying, B, filled with murder and blood, and quite violent sometimes. So,
well, you always kind of want to get that thing too, where it's not just you beat the villain to death; it's you outsmarted him.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We talked a lot about like Dark Knight and how the Joker in that movie, and trying to give our characters like the smart win, not just they were the stronger ones.
Yeah, because the Nogitsune is essentially the Joker. He is a trickster. And he doesn't necessarily want to steal $1 million or revenge on anything. He just wants pain, and he just wants chaos because it excites him, and strife. Yes.
And he wanted to win. And so in the end, they remember the scroll said that you could change the host. And so Scott bites him, and they change the host, and they say, a fox can't be a wolf. Yeah. Well, then Octogram8 asks on Twitter, he says, the pack changes the host and says to Nogitsune he can't be a fox and a wolf at the same time. Does this mean Scott and Kira can never have a baby and they have to adopt? Because you can't be a fox and a wolf at the same time.
We probably won't be getting that far in this show. I'm guessing. It's still called Teen Wolf. But
That is something we've never discussed. I guess because there's another show on MTV called Teen Mom that handles all that just fine.
That's very true.
We'll let them move over to that show and figure it out. So why make the Nogitsune that's a fox into a fly?
It was one of the visuals that we had. I think, what was our decision on that?
We had all the fly stuff in the beginning, too, with the fireflies.
I'm not prepared for this question.
Next.
Okay, we will move on.
I think we just love the simplicity of this horrible, like, what does a horrible demon look like? And that was hiding in this tree. And, like, we didn't want the black smoke cloud or something that we represented. And the little fly in a jar we thought was very simple and powerful, and also kind of scary and
too,
gross,
isn't
too.
it? Beelzebub is a fly, Lord of the Flies. Yeah.
So Aiden died from the Oni's stab wound. Why did he kill him?
What? Why did the Oni kill him?
Why did he die from the
why
stab
did he die?
wound? Because it seemed like a lot of the other characters, they got slightly scratched by the stab wound. I don't know.
Because we wrote it that way.
Because you wrote it that way. I was just asking, what particularly.
I'll actually say.
Pilot season. Our new pilot season.
Well, so I had this argument with one of my editors in the editing room, and he said, well, why does he die instead of, and Scott lives? And I said, well, first of all, the sword was supposed to be higher. This is one of those reasons why I like to be on set as much as possible. Yeah. Because I would have said, well, it's supposed to be in the heart, guys. The heart is right here, right? So, if we could go back and reshoot it, I would show it. The idea would be that it hit a major organ, a major wolf organ.
He's not an alpha anymore, and both Derek and Scott, who had been previously run through with things, are alphas.
This is what you do in television. You work with the footage you have.
Right.
And so we looked at it. Gabe Fleming and I looked at the shot, and we said, well, what do we do then? How do we show that he's been affected with a mortal wound? Mm-hmm. And what Gabe suggested, which was pretty smart, I think, is you see a flicker of blue in his eyes, and that suggests that this is a far worse wound than the one Scott received. This one nicked an artery. This one nicked a major organ. This one was bad. So that's the way we try to fix it in editing.
So are the twins not coming back next season?
No, they're doing a HBO show called The Leftovers, and we're so incredibly proud of them. We knew that they were out auditioning.
Well, they're the nicest guys.
They really are.
And they had shot the pilot, I want to say, between A and B, right?
Yes, they did.
And so they didn't. they didn't necessarily want to leave, but they had done this pilot, and they're like, well, we're not sure if it's going to get picked up. It's on HBO, and it's directed by Peter Berg and written by Damon Lindelof, and then Tyler starring. And we're like, well, yeah, that's getting picked up.
I have a friend at HBO, and I said, it's getting picked up, isn't it? And the guy said, oh, yeah. So I sort of knew before them, and they said, well, can we work out a deal to come back for 6 episodes? And one of the things that's really difficult for us is scheduling. When the actors book other jobs, it can get really hard. We had that issue with Adelaide when she went off to do the pilot for Rain. She was gone a huge amount of time. And all we were able to do with her, we can't go back. We don't have the money to go back and shoot a bunch of pickups after we're finished shooting, so we had to put her in a coma. So we call it comaing the actor.
And Leftovers is shooting in New York too. So
yeah, so it's hard. True. You fly the actors back and forth, but that's one of the issues of working in cable TV as well. You get 12 episodes usually, and you have to fight with other networks.
So how long did Danny know? Because that's why he breaks up with Ethan. He says, you're a werewolf, it's Beacon Hill. Yeah. So, what point did he know? Because a lot of the fans, that was the moment when we were like confirmed that he was on the in of knowing what was going on, but we never knew before. So at what point did Danny find out about all this?
Well, this is sort of a reference to one of my favorite movies, and one of the movies that inspired me to do this show. Is The Lost Boys, when he says, when the grandfather at the end says, the thing I always hated about Santa Clara, all the damn vampires. I love the fact that he was in the know.
Yeah.
It made him seem smart. It made him a more interesting character. And it was just a nice little twist at the end. And I think it was a really cool moment for Danny. And the idea is that he may have always known. And he's been the only one smart enough to say, hey, I'm not going to get involved in any of this. I'm going to stay out of the mayhem and murder and not get hacked to pieces.
Right.
So
I like at the end we have that little moment where they're talking about the regression to the mean, that things can't always be good, but they can't always be bad either. And I really like that because it's just a good lesson for life in general. When people complain all the time about things are bad or things are great and then they're not good, it's just like, regression to the mean. That's just something good to realize and reflect on in life in general.
It's actually something that came to me from my brother.
Really?
Yeah, my brother's a clinical therapist in Atlanta, and he and I talk a lot. He's a huge fan of the show. We were always talking about the episodes and stuff, and he actually reads all the scripts. And I was going through a hard time. This was back in my early 20s, and he gave me this same exact speech. And a lot of scenes between Scott and Stiles are sort of inspired by me and he's my twin brother. I'm a twin just like Skyler. And how brothers support each other. So it's nice to be able to put those real life moments into the story. It just makes it feel real. And I love the relationship between Deaton and Scott. It's a nice surrogate father-son relationship. So and I'm really happy to have Seth in the show. He's awesome. Back in the 4th season, and we love the badass moment where he's fighting off the Oni, and we're like, we got to get him into some more action.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we only have about 5 minutes left in the show. We have a couple more things we want to go over before we have to leave you guys for 2 months. So Derek has
God, is it only 2 months?
I knew you were going to do that. Derek's telling Stiles about, this dream he had, and then the irony of it is that he's dreaming when he's telling Stiles about the dream, and what's real is when these Mexican hunters break into his loft, and then they're looking for the she-wolf, who turns out to be Kate Argent. Yep.
Well, that ending is actually one of my favorite short stories from high school is Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. And if you remember that's basically sort of the inspiration for Jacob's Ladder as well, where the dream of, it's the moment of the dream right before dying, where the dream seems like real life. So we were all really surprised when we saw the special effect of the 6 fingers and how amazing it looked.
Yeah, it did.
So it was a moment to do a callback to the counting of the fingers to tell if you're in a dream or not. and it's a way to bring back Jill Wagner. So.
Okay, so I have a question about her. I mean, is she going to be the main villain? And she's a she-wolf, so that's not like a werewolf. Her eyes were green.
She's a little different, yes.
Can you talk about it all, tease maybe her superpowers and if she's going to be the main opponent for the pack, or is there another villain coming in next season?
She's going to be hosting a talk show. The show's on.
I wonder if they're bringing
does
Wolf
this
Watch
mean
back.
that Derek is gone now? Did he actually die?
He did not die.
Okay.
But he is definitely in trouble in the first episode, and will require the help of Scott and his pack.
Can you tell us what the green eyes mean at all?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, is she going to be back for vengeance, obviously, on Peter?
We can say that she's definitely an Argent and definitely still a hunter.
Well, I'm glad that Chris got some family back at least, because he
Yeah.
needs that.
He needed some
but
family
obviously
back.
she didn't follow the code like Victoria Argent did,
Right.
in taking your own life if you were to become a werewolf.
Yeah, we deal with that in the first episode, which is called The Dark Moon. So you'll learn a lot more about that. But it's really fun to be able to bring her back. And it was something that was actually planned right from the beginning. It just kept getting pushed off and off, partially due to schedules, partially due to availability, and to the narrative. We had other stories to tell, but it felt right now. So, and I think it shocked people, which was good.
Definitely. Well, it looks like Scott is grooming Malia to be part of his pact, and his pact is just huge now. So, I mean, are all these allies going to stay together? Will some of them fall apart? And I heard Derek's getting a romance next season.
Possibly.
Who's not a sociopath? Could it be Lydia?
Lydia and Derek?
Oh my God, Dookie! Yeah, Dookie is begging for a name for Derek's new love interest.
We're not going to tease that just yet.
Oh.
But Malia is going to be around. She's a regular next season.
Yeah.
And we're having a lot of fun with her character, too.
Shelley's amazing.
Yeah.
She's great,
And she was
yeah.
kind of, we'd spent a lot of time planning out Kira this season, and Malia almost came up as an accident because we ended up breaking that first 2 episodes story about the Coyote Girl. When it was over, we're all just like, what do we do with her now? This is a really interesting story.
We loved her. And we knew we were going to do a child for Peter. We had always planned that story. We just didn't know if it was going to be her or not. But
Gwen on Twitter wants to know if we're ever going to learn Styles' first name.
I don't know if we can allow this. Somebody said that we said we'd say it this
season. Yeah, that's what she said, and so she was really upset.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember ever saying that.
Well, this song is My Own by White Tiger, so we're going to begin our goodbyes. But I just wanted to ask you, Skyler.
Yes.
We asked Jeff last time, and you, Ian, when he came on, what's something specific from your childhood that kind of pointed you in the direction of wanting to become an actor?
I had a twin brother as well as Jeff growing up, and a little brother, and I don't know, I kind of just spent my childhood in the backyard playing G.I. Joes and telling stories, and I don't know, I think if I had one moment, there was a movie I remember watching as a kid growing up, and it was A Knight's Tale, and he talks about changing your stars and stuff. And
A Knight's Tale? You were a kid?
Yeah, I mean.
Wait, the one with Heath Ledger?
I was 12, and I was 12, and so I don't know. I was like,
I was in grad school.
I was Officer Krupke in West Side Story in high school, and I was like, maybe I go out there and give it a try. And I don't know. My twin brother moved out here and supported me, and I found myself out here. 4 years later, here I am.
Wow.
He's going to be a star.
Jeff and
Yeah,
Ian.
you resemble Heath Ledger.
I was
so-
going to say,
Yeah,
you really
definitely
do.
I'd say a little cross between Heath Ledger and Ryan Phillippe.
Yes,
Definitely.
Exactly, Jeff. That's exactly
Ian,
what
what
it is.
about you? What's something from your childhood that specifically led you into working in the industry?
I was a big reader growing up as a kid, but I really liked X-Files was one of the first shows I fell in love with, and I remember seeing the written by credit on screen and just saying, I'm going to do that. I want to see my name up there. And that's just
great.
how I got into this.
I know, Jeff, you said you were always a writer.
Yeah, well, from 16, I started writing short stories, and it was just a way to I wrote a novel in high school.
That's amazing.
Which shows you how much social life I had. But it was an escape for me. So,
Definitely.
And I always consider myself first an entertainer. That's my first priority, is have I entertained you? Have I thrilled you? and it's a joy to be able to do that.
Well, it's a joy to be in the audience watching these episodes week after week. And guys, it's coming back June 23rd. We can't wait. Where can we follow you guys on Twitter or your websites? Skyler, what's yours on Twitter?
Just Skyler Maxon. Yeah, you can find me at Skyler with an E.
Skyler with an E.
Yes.
June, where can we follow you?
Miss MS_June Lee.
And Ian, can we follow you anywhere?
I have a Twitter. It's
you
Ian
tweet?
Stokes 82.
Oh, are you not sure? Okay.
I mostly just
tweet Ian at Ian Stokes 82.
I want to see pictures of my dog.
What about you, Jeff? Where can we keep up with you?
I don't have a Twitter, but you can go to MTV Teen Wolf, which is the best Twitter out there.
Okay,
great.
great.
Run by Matt McDonald.
All right, guys, you can follow me at Cinematic Escape, or you can check out my blog, Cinematic Escape. Have a great 2 months, and we will see you guys soon. We can't wait, and thank you guys so much for joining us in studio today.
Thank you for having us.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Skyler, for being amazing.
June 23rd.
Thank you, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
Oh, see you later?
Yeah.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.